Hi and welcome to this portion of your course. Today we're going to be taking a look at metadata in online assessments. First of all, we want to consider the term metadata. What are we referring to when we consider metadata? What is it? Put simply, metadata is simply data about other data, and we can use it to provide quick information about student progress on specific course objectives. Your course management system may provide access to different levels of metadata. For example, you can get specific information about how students performed on individual test or quiz questions, all the way up to overall class performance on an assessment item. And that data can be really important to an online teacher because it can quickly and effectively allow you to know which students are struggling, or at the group level allow you to know which concepts or objectives need some further instruction, clarification, or review. We'll take a look at some examples here in the next few slides. In this particular learning management system, this teacher can access something called statistics for all assessments, the quizzes and tests in the course, and you see they would access it there. And we can take a closer look at what that means. What do we get when we view the statistics for this particular item? Here we get the class statistics overview, and we can see that test scores are clustered sort of towards the high end of the scale, and we can see sort of an overall value. It may be difficult to see there. It's about 86%. So overall, students performed quite well on the assessment. But if we take a closer look, we can see here, and by the way, student names have been covered there to protect their identity. That's something you also want to be very aware of as an online teacher. You don't want to share sensitive data. But some students did not perform nearly as well as others, and we can see that very quickly with a nice color-coded range of scores here provided in the statistical metadata in the course. We can see that very quickly at a glance, and we can find some students that we may want to speak with individually in terms of their mastery of the concepts in this particular module. We are also able to see student performance on specific questions. For example, at a glance here, we can see that question number 47 and question number 55, those are two that students did not perform particularly well on. As a matter of fact, only about 43% of students scored or answered this one correctly. Only about 34% answered number 55 correctly. So a synchronous or asynchronous review might be a good idea for the concepts covered in one of those questions. And we also can take an even closer look and get some more detail here. This question, for example, is about the concept of scarcity, and we can see that it's just a basic definition type of question. Almost 80% of the students answered this one correctly. So while most students seem to understand that concept, maybe a little additional review wouldn't be a bad idea. However, if we move on and look at another question, one that we've already identified as being sort of a trouble spot, we can see that only about 1/3 of all students answered this question correctly. And this question is kind of related to the concept of scarcity, but it involves using some math and doing some calculations. Students definitely needed a bit further practice and review of this concept. Only about 1/3 of students answered that one correctly. Now, after reviewing this type of data, this type of metadata, the instructor might call or email several students who did poorly on that test, maybe try to provide some additional instruction or review. The instructor might create and host a synchronous web conferencing session to go over concepts that several students are still struggling with. Or the instructor might create and publish brief audio or video items to help students review as needed, kind of on their own time. And metadata, just remember, perhaps the online teacher's best friend.